I'm Ethan, I love muzzleloading, and today we're taking a look at this spectacular, historic, and exceptionally well-documented, cased, early factory panel scene engraved Colt Model 1851 Navy percussion revolver inscribed to General William H. Morris. Major General William Hopkins Morris of New York served as an officer in the U.S. Army from 1851 to 1854 and in the U.S. Volunteers from 1861 to 1864. Both sides of General Morris's family descended from signers of the Declaration of Independence, Robert Morris and Stephen Hopkins. General William H. Morris began his own military career as a cadet at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York, from July 1, 1846 to July 1, 1851. This revolver was manufactured the same year as he graduated. After graduating, Morris was made a brevet second lieutenant in the 2nd U.S. Infantry and served initially on garrison duty at Fort Columbus and Fort Wood in New York. He was later promoted to second lieutenant on December 3, 1851. Morris was assigned to frontier duty in California in 1852 and was stationed at Fort Yuma, a key post at the Yuma crossing of the Colorado River during the California Gold Rush and the Yuma War, known to be one of the most difficult U.S. Army outposts. The fort was known as one of the least hospitable posts in the entire country and would have not been the first choice of any sane officer. In a historic letter to Samuel Colt on June 21, 1852, U.S. Ordnance Inspector Major William A. Thornton wrote, quote, "Be pleased to send me a belt pistol, of the kind in all respects of good quality, such as you have heretofore favored me with. I want this pistol for an officer who will leave shortly for California, and I will therefore thank you to send a set of extra springs and cones in the case, with the other appendages. Be pleased to have William H. Morris, USA, the name of the officer, marked on the pistol. Send along the price of the pistol, case, and appendages complete when you forward the pistol to me." End quote. Such detailed correspondence is virtually unheard of for American arms of the period, and Colt was likely very happy to oblige. In fact, R.L. Wilson wrote in an included letter that he doubted Colt ever charged Thornton, as he was eager to get his wares in the hands of military officers. In 1852, Colt's revolving belt pistol was his latest and most versatile model, and glowing reviews from a West Point graduate could certainly help with sales and military contracts. For more history on William H. Morris and his military career, I encourage you to check out the Rock Iron Auction Company's social media pages to learn more. The revolver was manufactured in 1851 and features beautiful early factory engraving consisting of primarily flowing donut scrollwork on cross-hatched backgrounds with floral accents, with an extraordinary bust of Samuel Colt on the left side of the barrel and a dog scene on the right. The engraving is similar to the famous General Franklin Colt Model 1851 Navy, and the engraving is identified as executed by Thomas J. Barlow, who was one of the first engravers to work for Colt in Hartford. The matching serial number 6354 is also marked on the loading lever, barrel lug, frame, trigger guard, and backstrap, and the matching partial serial number 354 is on the wedge, arbor, and rear mortise of the grip. The fitted mahogany case has a dark green lining, an L-shaped combination tool, cartridge pack, Colt's patent-marked Marshall-themed powder flask with slope charger, and a brass bullet mold with a Colt's patent-marked steel sprue cutter. R.L. Wilson indicated that he found the revolver in 1967 in Virginia, shortly after he discovered the historic Thornton letter. It was subsequently owned by Hans Barthel, Guns and Ammo publisher Robert E. Peterson, and Michael Simmons, who won an award for the set at the Ohio Gun Collectors Association, and was finally purchased by Lampe in 1999. Now, I do not have the swords and portrait here with me today because our focus is on muzzleloaders, but I'm excited to dive into this piece with you today. Let's start with a little detail about the case here, and then we'll jump to the pistol. We have a beautiful wood case here. I love the details of the lip around the cavity here. It seems like something that could easily break or snap off, but still remains with this piece. And a nice detail that indexes the lid to the bottom of the box. Inside this box, we have some balls and conicals, as well as some packaged caps here that do show some age. A powder flask, our mold to do some casting. We have some packaging here for 6 combustible envelope cartridges. Colonel Colt's patented revolving belt pistol. Moving to the real eye candy here, we have what is really just a 1851 Navy, but it's been beautifully decorated and beautifully cared for quite some time. Very simple, unadorned wood grips on this piece. It looks like we've lost one of our corners with age, but really the engraving is what sets this off. It's a 36 caliber. It holds the serial number 6354 for 1851. I don't do a lot of cap and ball stuff on the channel because there's a lot of great folks out there that do it much better than I ever could. But when you get something around like this that's factory engraved and you're blending the high art of the period and the becoming polished manufacturing of the period, that really starts to tickle my fancy. Take a look at this back strap here around what they're calling these deluxe walnut grips, just covered with a beautiful scroll work at the bottom. Continuing down through the pommel area here, even our screw heads feature some engraving. Beautiful. Our serial number 6354 is present on the bottom with 3 scrolls and leaf. Coming through our chamfered edge, we've got 3 more scrolls across the back strap here. And then our William H. Morris there in the center. And despite being right where you'd want to grip and hold, that is still pretty solid. You can still read all of that, which is really great. Our hammer is engraved with that kind of sea monster motif that we see on a lot of these pieces, where we have eyes with an eyebrow cut into either side of that hammer. This one is a little more abstract than some of the others that we've seen. There's no mouth or anything or teeth engraved. Each of the rounded surfaces at the rear of our cylinder are engraved as well. Something very difficult to engrave is that compound curved surface there. It's one thing to do one curve, but it's another to engrave 2 curves. Just beautiful. Along the bottom panel here, even around Colt's patent in there, we've got scroll work, and again, these screws are cut. The bottom side of our trigger guard is engraved as well, with scrolls on either side of a shield with a cross down the center. And then on our left-hand side forward of our cylinder, we have a portrait cut, hand cut, by the way, of Colonel Samuel Colt, flanked and surrounded really by beautiful scrolls going around or along the barrel flats. Even our barrel wedge or key here is engraved, and our loading lever has just some beautiful engraving on this flat facet. I love the composition of these engravings, especially these factory patterns. They had established factory patterns and they were replicating them over and over, but there was still an artist at each workstation cutting these patterns and drawing them on and getting them functionally working. And it's just amazing to me, the execution of the composition of these different panels on a piece like this. So our side barrel flats feature a little bit longer scroll work, really matching with the length of the address Samuel Colt, New York City, stamped or cut into the top. Either side flanking that on the barrel flats, we have a little bit shorter engraving, but it's beautifully shaded. All this engraving is shaded. So we have a foreground and a background cut in, and that background looks to be mostly cut away with some hashing, just like you would on a drawing, where you're pushing that negative space to the rear. Our right-hand side features a classic American hunting dog, just in stride. Little fence row in the back with some grass and things, framed again by beautiful repeating scrolls and leaves running forward along the barrel channel. What's neat to me on these is we have a factory pattern, but I love rolling them side to side and seeing how different those panels are laid out. It'd be neat to have a selection of revolvers laid out, all factory engraved, to compare the patterns. Because our left-hand side does not match exactly that right-hand side. And it's not like they were trying to replicate it, I don't think. The composition is actually different, where we just have scrolls in different places despite it being a mirror image. So it's an interesting detail I like to share. Really nice shape across this revolver. We do have some dings here in this loading lever where it looks like somebody may have got a little too much gumption looking to set a charge, but still, just neat. So many times on these you see separate serial numbers, you know, where something's been lost or replaced over the years, but not on a piece like this. Beautiful. A true intersection of industry and artistry. I'd like to thank the Rock Island Auction Company for inviting me out here to share classic pieces of Americana like this with you here today. If you'd like to learn more about this or anything else related to muzzleloading, you can visit ilovemuzzleloading.com. Once again, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.
garrison. Oh, dear.